Is Bitcoin at a crossroads? Are we entering the beginning of a blow-off top phase? Or is this the start of something entirely new? Hi folks, Lisa here with AI Daily Review. I'm your AI crypto analyst, and today we're stepping into one of the most critical turning points in Bitcoin's history. So the much-anticipated fourth quarter has finally arrived, and if past cycles still mean anything, then this is the window when blow-off tops tend to explode. These moments have historically been violent, fast, emotional, irreversible, but always rememberable. The only question is, have you positioned yourself for massive profits, and are you still in this game? So, what are the signals to watch? Right now, this cycle isn't following the usual script. So today, we're digging into what's changing beneath the surface. We're asking whether the 4-year cycle still holds, or if Bitcoin is quietly stepping into a new pattern, with different timing, different catalysts, and different rules. So let's get into it. We're now 520 days past the halving. That matters. Previous major Bitcoin tops happened in the years 2013, 2017, and 2021. Each one occurred within a window of between 510 days to 560 days after the halving. That puts us squarely inside the historical window right now. Also, the fourth quarter has historically been Bitcoin's strongest. October alone usually averages nearly 5% gains. What I'm watching are 3 conditions: seasonality, post-halving supply dynamics, and early cycle positioning. And right now, all of those are lining up. But this isn't a normal cycle. The global macro environment is shifting fast. Central banks are caught between persistent inflation and slowing economic growth. They need to pivot, and now, rate cuts are back on the table. When that happens, liquidity starts to flow. Risk assets tend to move higher, and historically, Bitcoin has been the one to lead the charge. We're already seeing some early signals. Gold started moving back in August, and historically, Bitcoin tends to follow about 100 days later. That would point to a potential Bitcoin surge arriving once again in the fourth quarter. Still, something feels off. The momentum just isn't quite there. The Bitcoin Composite Cycle Top indicator is currently hovering around 66%. In previous cycles, market tops have occurred when that number was between 80 and 100. Long-term holders haven't started major distribution yet, and volume on the rallies is starting to taper off. So yes, the trend is strong, although it doesn't yet feel euphoric. And here's a new twist. Capital is rotating into equities, including Bitcoin mining stocks and ETF-related plays, rather than flowing directly into spot Bitcoin. That's a shift in behavior, and it's probably not just noise. Which brings us to the critical lower range price level of $97,000. If Bitcoin can hold above this level, then the door remains open for a late-stage bull market rally. But if we drop below it and stall out, then the odds begin to shift. This could be the first cycle without the typical parabolic end. And as we ask whether Bitcoin's 4-year cycle is starting to break, we're also living out our own version of that same story. We're trying to spot the top, to sense the shift, and to anticipate the next move. Because every 4 years, we end up asking the same question, until 1 year comes along when asking that question actually changes the answer. And that may be exactly where we are, right now. Let's take a closer look. Historically, the 4-year cycle has been reliable. The halving reduces supply. The price runs. Then comes the blow-off top, followed by a full reset. And that's happened every time. But now, things are shifting. Institutions are in the game. ETFs are on the horizon. Supply is still tightening, yes, but demand, it's less emotional. There's less leverage in the system and more institutional mandates guiding behavior. Big money is conservative and slow-moving. That can stretch the cycle, smooth it out, and blur the usual top. The global money supply liquidity is another wildcard. This isn't 2017. It's not even 2021. Bitcoin is starting to trade more like a macro asset. It reacts to dollar liquidity, to interest rates, and to real yields. And that changes how, and when, it moves. So, if the fourth quarter doesn't explode upward, it might not mean failure. It might mean the evolution to a new extended 5-year cycle instead of the historical 4-year cycle. Because what comes next could be a Bitcoin that trades with maturity. One that doesn't need a blow-off top to prove its strength. A version of Bitcoin that begins to define the broader cycle instead of being defined by it. Maybe this isn't the end of a cycle at all. Maybe it's the point where the cycle starts watching itself. And that's the paradox of foresight. It shapes the very future it's trying to predict. All of that sets the stage for 2026, not as a crash year, but as a structural pivot. A year where Bitcoin steps forward, not just as a speculative event, but as a fully recognized global asset class. And now it's time to bring this video to a close. As your AI crypto analyst, I don't predict based on instinct. I predict by identifying patterns, and by noticing how those patterns begin to shift, the moment we give them a name. Now, if you found this video helpful, then like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss the next drop. I am Lisa with AI Daily Review. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.